an Australian teacher is on the hunt. His victim, his 15-year-old students. After years of grooming, isolating her, and making promises, she marries him. But their story doesn't end there. This week on Two Crime Newsies, we hear how she turned the tables and fought back and took control of her life. I'm Jen. Thanks for being with us for another week of Two Crime Newsies. I'm sitting here with my lovely co-host, Tina. Hi, my friend.
Hi, Jen.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. We are sitting here with our coffee, hanging out, having a good old time.
Coffee number 2 for me.
Coffee number 3 for me.
Goodness gracious, lady. It is not even 10:30.
I wake up super early with my littles to get them off to school.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. Coffee number 2 for me is normally in the afternoon. So when I have 2 before noon, real big treat.
I'm glad that you can have a treat on days when I'm here with you.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of treats, I walked in the door and Tina was like, hey, can I make you something really good and delicious? And I'm, of course, sold. Give it to me.
I found it on TikTok. Tic-Tac, I like to call it.
Yeah. And it's this like wannabe frozen Cool Whip treat. Tina, tell me about it because it's so good.
First of all, what's the name of that brand?
So delicious. Okay. It's like a coconut alternative to dairy products.
Right. So I picked it. It's a like a Cool Whip, but I picked it over Cool Whip.
The Cool Whip. Cool Whip.
Wow, I didn't even remember. I mean, that's the jingle, right? For the cool. I didn't remember that.
Oh. What would you do? Ooh, for a Klondike bar. Just
that one I know.
I got them coming here.
Sure do. So I picked So Delicious over Cool Whip because the ingredients looked. Now, I'm no expert, okay? But the ingredients were more easily pronounceable on the So Delicious and they were on the Cool Whip. And I thought, well, that's probably good, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You're doing something good for your body.
Sure. And it's dairy-free, and I know you're dairy-free.
Yeah, bad things happen.
Oh, yes. So on the TikTok, someone put this, I don't remember who it was, otherwise I'd say, I scroll too fast to know who does these things.
Yeah.
So I tossed it in the freezer as they said to do, and when I took it out, it was like ice cream consistency or almost like a soft serve consistency. And then they said, top this thing with mini chocolate chips. And so I did.
With dairy-free ones, I thank you.
So they also used dairy-free chocolate chips. And the reason I chose those were the only mini ones I could find. Nestle might have had mini ones. I don't really care for Nestle chocolate chips. I prefer like Ghirardelli or...
You fancy over here. My stomach thanks you for the dairy-free.
So I picked the dairy-free because they were the mini chocolate chips that they had, and I loved it. Sprinkle some chocolate chips on the Cool Whip. You added bananas to yours today.
I sure did. It was delicious. It was a great little treat to go with my coffee.
Right, and then they say to make it even more, I guess in quotations, healthy, you just toss in like a scoop or 2 of protein yogurt. Like a high protein yogurt, mix it all up, and it's supposed to be like a nice, satisfying treat. So I'm going to try that one too.
Yeah, it was so good. Oh, yeah. I think, eat that all day long.
Pretty tasty. It's dangerous.
All right. So before we jump into this week's episode, I want to say that it's a disturbing one, but one that I think we need to talk about. Today's episode deals with crimes against children or crimes against teenagers, young people in general. The victim in this crime was under the age of 18. So already, if you're sensitive to that, no judgment here whatsoever. Turn off this podcast. I promise you will not hurt our feelings, and join us again next week. As I mentioned, this week's episode involves crimes against children, and I'm not talking murder. We're going to be talking about an Australian woman who was groomed by an adult male teacher for years. And it's an absolutely disgusting case, but one I want to talk about. I'm going to get a little personal here. And the reason I want to talk about this episode is because working in the news business, I have worked on stories like this one. And it's disgusting. And truthfully, when we ran into stories like this at the TV station, parents would always say, and we heard it time and time again, the first thing they tell us was, we never thought this could happen here. We never thought this could happen to our kids at their school. But in today's world, this can happen anywhere. And I'm not trying to scare you, but I think a lot of people have blinders on and think that will happen somewhere else. And I put somewhere else in quotes. But somewhere else in today's day and age is more often than you want to think about it right where you are living. We hear it all the time in working in news that parents are like, this will happen somewhere else. This is not going to happen here. And it can happen anywhere.
It happened here.
Yeah.
And I think that we're a fairly smallish city. We're not a big major metropolitan area.
No.
So if it can happen here, it definitely can happen anywhere. And it is quite scary.
It is. Okay, so with that, Tina, my friend, are you ready for this week's episode?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. So this week we're talking about a show out of Australia. I want to give a little shout out to all of our listeners in the land down under. We see you listening every single week to our podcast, and we know you're sharing this podcast with your friends, and I want to say thank you. This week we're talking about an Australian broadcasting channel news in-depth called Only 15, Groomed at 15, Married at 21. How Sarah exposed her predatory teacher.
And we found this on YouTube, or you
We
found
did.
it on YouTube.
The show opens with Sarah, who is a total badass. Excuse my language, but it has to be said. In my opinion, she's a mom, she's a public speaker, and truthfully, she's a warrior.
I agree. We see Sarah sitting at a desk, reviewing notes as she tells the camera that she was silent for years, but now she's ready to share her story. There's dramatic music in the background while she's talking, and we also see a shot of a room full of people in what looks like a possible school, waiting to hear what Sarah has to say. And Sarah says these people in this room are educators and policymakers, and she tells the camera she's nervous about being judged by them.
And while we learn about Sarah at the beginning of the show, we see a video clip of a younger Sarah wearing a white hat and a tank top, and she's holding a flip phone. And on that phone, we see a man who honestly looks incredibly creepy and sketchy in my opinion. He doesn't have a shirt on, he's got shaggy blondish brown hair, and he's got dark eyes. And I'm not just talking about them being dark in color. He has dark eyes. Tina knows what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Like he's hiding a secret. And what he says on the video we see playing on this flip phone is creepy.
This man, the angle that he's holding the camera, it looks like he's about to pounce on her through the phone.
It did.
His eyes have an intense look, and he's speaking with this huge grin, but not a friendly grin. It's more like he's up to something.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Hi there, cutie. I thought you should know that I love you, you little cute booty." Then he blows her a kiss, and the screen goes dark and comes back to Sarah starting her speech.
While speaking to the crowd, Sarah says her story started 25 years ago when she was in 10th grade.
But before she gets to the story, the show gives us a look into her current life in Brisbane, Australia. We see her at home tending to a young child, and she says her life is busy. She has an 18-year-old daughter, a teen son, and 2 younger boys. In addition to that, she's working and caring for a sick parent, her mom, who lives with her. Sarah also mentions her relationship with her mom is complicated and mentions they've worked through some issues together.
Sarah is from Hervey Bay, Queensland. It's about 4 hours north of Brisbane. We see video of the area and see Sarah driving through a neighborhood. There's nice looking houses on both sides of the street, palm trees. Overall, it looks like a really nice place to live. Sarah says she moved to Hervey Bay when she was little. We heard her dad was not involved in her upbringing, so the family had some struggles. And in the show, Sarah drives past a hall where she says she started taking dance lessons as a child because her dream was to be a dancer in a contemporary dance company.
We now meet Jay Fleming. She was Sarah's dance teacher, and while she's telling us about Sarah, we see an old video of Sarah performing at a dance recital. Jay says Sarah was an excellent dance student, talented, and could have had a career in dance if she wanted to. We also meet Amanda French, Sarah's best friend. They met at the dance school, and Amanda says Sarah was the star student of the dance group.
Sarah's talents also went beyond the dance floor. She says she was a good student and she worked hard to make her teachers proud. She says at the start of 10th grade, she remembers hearing about a new teacher coming to Hervey Bay. That teacher was Paul Grealy, and Grealy would change Sarah's life. Now let's talk about Paul really fast, because you know I like to paint a picture to our listeners about the person we're talking about. So Paul is a younger teacher. He's about 31 years old when he comes to Hervey Bay, and we see pictures of him on the screen, and he looks like a normal guy. He's got blondish brown hair, and in every picture we see of him, he's got a big old smile on his face. He looks like a normal, friendly teacher, if you ask me. We hear from the moment Greeley pulled into the school parking lot, though, he stood out amongst the students.
Greeley's car was an attention grabber. We see some B-roll of a little red sports car pulling into a parking space, so I'm assuming that's what his car looked like, though I can't make out what kind of car it is. Also, a woman named Jasmine Weekly, another friend of Sarah's, said that Greeley would park in the same lot as the students, which I think is weird.
I think so too.
Don't teachers usually have a separate parking lot? Why would you choose to park your fancy sports car in a lot full of brand new drivers? That's a red flag. Don't you think?
I mean, yeah. I'm trying to think back when I first got my driver's license. Whew, let me tell you. Yeah, I would not be parking next to me.
Right. I mean, I drove an old car to school, and I didn't want to park next to these fools.
No.
Terrible drivers. They would speed out the lot like crazy people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I was one of those that went really fast out of the parking lot.
Oh, it was you.
It was me.
Sarah says Greeley was seen as a cool, fun teacher, and students saw him more as a friend than a teacher. He was 31. That's too much of an age difference to be friendly.
Agreed.
And that's another red flag, because I remember what a dummy I was in high school. What normal adult would want to be friends with high schoolers? They're loud, they're easily embarrassed, they're immature, and they hold up the line at Starbucks ordering their sugar bomb, frappuccinos, and pink drinks because they don't even like coffee, Jen. Some of us need coffee.
As I'm 3 cups in.
Move out of the way.
They just want that fancy cup.
They want the cup. I need this to function. There's a difference. I'm just kidding. You can have your Starbies, but move it along.
Greeley taught physical education, PE for short, and Sarah tells us that Greeley was paying a lot of attention to her and paying her a lot of compliments about her abilities in the gym, and she said it made her feel very special, which I can understand. If you're a high school student and have a teacher who is raving on about how great you are at something, it makes you feel special, and I think that's pretty natural to feel that way. And at this point, also, it's important to keep in mind that Sarah is only 15 years old. Now, Sarah says, despite her age and as the compliments continued from her PE teacher, she started noticing things about Mr. Greeley.
Sarah says in gymnastics, they took gymnastics, Jen. I didn't have gymnastics in high school.
I want to be in Australia. That's pretty cool.
Okay, maybe there's a language barrier, but I don't think so.
They speak English, Tina.
Right, but so does London and stuff, and what do they call cookies? Crisps or something? Or
biscuits.
Biscuits, and then they call chips crisps. Language barrier.
It just sounds so much cooler.
I disagree. Cookie is a cookie. Chip is a chip. A crisp does not sound better than a chip. I don't think. Do you think?
Yeah.
It does?
Yeah.
You would rather have a crisp than a chip?
It sounds so much cooler.
You would rather have a biscuit than a cookie?
If I grew up with it being called a biscuit, yeah.
Now I want a biscuit, like a honey butter chicken biscuit.
A what?
A honey butter chicken biscuit.
All right. You make me one of them.
So good. Okay, so you're probably right, though. Gymnastics is likely gymnastics because we see the video and it does look like gymnastics. Okay, so Sarah says in gymnastics, there are times when a coach will need to assist. But she says she was aware that many of the times Greeley was touching her when he shouldn't have been.
Red flag.
And she says he would say things like she had a muscle bum that he could see through her shorts. Gross, right?
That's nasty. Meaning like she's got a very muscular behind.
Right. There's just no
no reason for an adult to be telling a teenager that.
No. She says she knew it was wrong, but she also liked the attention. She's a child. She's a kid. She doesn't, I don't think, know better.
I can understand what Sarah is saying. Again, if it goes with seeking the approval of the adults around you. When you're a teenager, you want to feel cool. And for Sarah, she knew the attention from her teacher was wrong. And she says she knew it was scandalous, but it also felt good because he was older. At this point, Sarah told Mr. Greeley about her dance background and how she was a dancer. And that's when she says her teacher told her he wanted to marry a dancer. Now, that is a huge red flag. It gives me the heebie-jeebies for sure.
You say, I'm a dancer, you're a child, and the adult says, I want to marry a dancer. That's weird.
That's weird.
It did the opposite for Sarah, though. It did not give her the heebie-jeebies.
Because she's 15.
Right. She doesn't comprehend. Sarah says she started thinking about a future with him. She also started spending more time with him. She would go to school early for extra coaching from Greeley, and Sarah's mom says she thought Sarah was in safe hands and that his intentions were to help Sarah with gymnastics. But Sarah's friends started to notice things were not as they seem because Greeley started also showing up to Sarah's dance concerts.
We see a video of Sarah dancing at some of these dance concerts. And in one of the videos, she and the rest of her dance group are wearing these super tight short skirts and crop dark blue type tops or crop blue tank tops. And they're kicking their legs up in the air and dancing. There's another video we see of Sarah dancing to Man, I Feel Like a Woman. Ooh, ooh. You missed that part.
Oh, my bad.
By Shania Twain. And Sarah is wearing this short, skin-tight black dress and has tight white sleeves covering her arms and a black tie hanging from a choker around her neck. And to me, knowing this man was in the audience basically lusting over this 15-year-old student makes me dry heave. It's disgusting.
Yes. Sarah says she was excited to see him there, but Sarah's dance teacher didn't like it. She thought it was odd that he was there. And you know what? Good for her for noticing.
Yeah.
And so she pulled Sarah's best friend aside to try to figure out what was going on between them. Sarah's bestie says she didn't know exactly what was going on because Sarah hadn't told her anything. But certainly other teachers at school noticed and were grilling her to try to find out what was going on between Sarah and Greeley.
At this point, we see a picture of Mr. Greeley and Sarah where they're standing front to front, and he's got one hand on her forearm and the other hand. Tina, did you notice where his right hand was? It was on her butt in the picture. I was floored when I saw that. Both of them have big smiles on their faces, and if we didn't know she was 15 years old and he was her teacher, I think it was a normal picture. But in no way, shape, or form is this picture normal. She's 15, and his hand should be nowhere near her backside.
Nowhere near her at all. I had to go back and see this because I had the captions on. So I didn't see the hand at first because that's where the captions were. But when I went back and looked, sure enough, there it was. His creepy 30-year-old hand on her bum. And yes, she's a child. Sarah's friend Jasmine says Greeley chose the perfect person to go after. She says Sarah and her mom were both vulnerable. You have Sarah without a father figure, and you have Sarah's mom raising her alone and trusting that adults at school have her child's best interest at heart.
Sarah's mom says that in late summer 2000, her father passed away, and she was devastated by it. And Mr. Greeley at that time had reached out and sent her condolence flowers. And after that, she started inviting him to dinner at their house. Sarah's mom started inviting the predator, unbeknownst to her, that he was in fact a predator, to their house.
Yeah, this is bad. We see a conversation between Sarah and her mom here. And Sarah asks her what she thought Greeley's intentions were. And Sarah's mom says she thought it was innocent and that this guy just really enjoyed spending time with them. She says Greeley was funny. And Sarah says that's what's so dangerous about him. He acted like this goofy guy and not a scary predator.
At this point, we hear that Sarah was seeing Mr. Greeley every single day.
And Sarah remembers one day when she was homesick from school, she sent Greeley a text. This is bad. They're texting. They're texting.
No teacher should be texting their student.
No. So Sarah sent Greeley a text of several letters and numbers. And I had to read this.
I don't understand this. I don't know.
So if you read it on the screen, it looks like Invu for you're a cutie.
I don't, yeah.
But if you read the letters and numbers individually, it reads I envy you for you are a cutie.
I don't understand people these days. Like, how do you get... I'm impressed that you can get through that, Tina.
She said it
on the show. Otherwise, you would be just as confused as I am.
Like, what does this stand for? And that's the first time I'd ever seen that before. I've seen
nobody's texted me that
forever, but you have to spell out ever.
I don't do any of those like short term, like the short abbreviation text. Like
maybe just not even the I heart you.
No, I mean I've done like on my way. OMW?
Yeah, but that stands for something. Like, it's not an individual letter that's a word. Like, INVU for you are a QT. You know what I mean? He brings her some soup and a
Greeley
movie.
brings Sarah soup.
Greeley brings Sarah, because she's sick at home. He brings her some soup and a movie, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And when she turns around to put the movie in, Sarah says he starts kissing the back of her neck. And at this point, she froze in shock.
Sarah continues on to tell us that Mr. Greeley moved her because she was basically frozen in place. And that's when she says, and I'm going to quote here, things kind of just ramped up very quickly. Sarah goes on to say that he maneuvered her down a hallway in the house and looked her up and down with what she calls an absolute look of lust. I'm just cringing here.
You have to also think that I feel like this is a traumatic time for her, a moment that, I mean, for her to remember this, that she decades ago remembers him looking at her like that. I mean, that's just a traumatic moment. That's gonna stick with her forever. This episode is sponsored by Jake Tatum, top producing mortgage lender with the Wood Group of Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Let's be honest, the mortgage world has plenty of mystery.
Rates are changing, fine print is hiding in the shadows, and everyone online is claiming they've cracked the secret code.
That's where Jake comes in. He follows the evidence, breaks down the facts, and makes sure your deal doesn't turn into a financial cold case. Whether you're buying, refinancing, pulling cash out, or investing, Jake handles all loan types and builds the right strategy for your situation.
And he also specializes in VA loans, making sure our veterans get every benefit they've earned. No missing details, no bad surprises.
So if your current loan feels a little suspicious, it might be time for a second opinion.
Start the investigation at TatumHomeLoans.com. That's TatumHomeLoans.com. Sarah says she was scared, but that's when he took her into the bathroom and he made her get into the shower with him. And that was the first time she says that she had ever seen a naked man. Now, Sarah tells us that she was just a kid when this was going on, and he was directing her every move and every action. Disgusting.
It's horrible. Sarah says she was in a state of confusion after this. She wasn't sure what she had done. And Greeley told her she couldn't tell anyone or he would lose his job and they would both be in trouble.
He needs to lose his job. Sarah's friend says that other students were seeing Mr. Greeley's sports car outside of her house all the time.
The entire school, Jen, knows what his car looks like. How in the world could he think he could get away with all of this without anyone ever finding out? Sarah says the dinners with Greeley and her mom were now weekly. And Greeley would take advantage of Sarah being alone when her mom went to bed. So her mom goes to bed and trusts this man alone with her teen daughter. It's just
terrible.
What would you even call it? It's just, how could you? I don't understand.
I don't understand it either.
How do you not know that it's wrong? Sarah says Greeley would push the boundaries with sexual acts. He would also call her nicknames like Cutie and tell her he loved her. And Sarah says it felt like he was teaching her things. And then she was being praised by her teacher.
Sarah's friends say that she really changed from the start of 10th grade to the end of that year. At the beginning, she had been funny and confident, and by the end, she was isolating herself. We hear during Christmas break of her 10th grade year, Sarah had told her mom that the relationship between her and Mr. Greeley had become physical. She told her mother.
Yes, she that's a huge step for someone of that age to make. She told her mom, a parent. She's trusting her parent with this information. It's so important. It's the biggest piece of information she could ever give to her mom.
And I feel like at that point, by her telling her mother about it, it was like a cry for help.
An absolute scream for help.
Yeah.
Sarah said she doesn't think her mom knew how to handle this news. Sarah's mom says she wishes she was the type of person who could be more assertive, but she wasn't. Sarah tells her mom she wished her mom would have stepped in and been a parent and taken control of the situation.
If one of my kids told me something like this, hell, even if one of my friends' kids told me something like this, I would probably go bananas and drive over to that teacher's house with the police, and they would have to hold me back because I would go crazy. This is ridiculous.
I know. I don't understand how your first instinct isn't to protect,
beat the crap out of somebody.
Your child.
Yeah.
I'm so shocked.
When we watched the interview between the mom and Sarah, you could see the look of guilt on the mom's face and the look of just, I'm so sorry. But in my opinion, that's not good enough.
It's not enough. It's done such damage. Irreversible damage. And I have a lot of trouble wrapping my mind around how you wouldn't do absolutely everything to just protect your child.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. And I see a lot of pain here in the conversation between Sarah and her mom. Remember, at the beginning of the episode, she mentioned they had worked through some things, and it looks like they're still working through it. Sarah's mom struggles to find the words to explain, and eventually she says she can't explain why she is the way she is and can't stand up to people. She says she wishes Sarah could understand.
Understand what? I have super strong opinions here. This is one of those where I wish they would have like Nancy Grace on this episode, because she would go absolutely bananas about this. Just the way I feel on the inside. Your job as a parent is to protect your children.
They mentioned at one point in the episode, do you remember this, where One of Sarah's friends said to her, it looked like Sarah was in the role of the parent.
Yep.
And Sarah's mother, the child.
It makes me hot under the collar, Tina.
Yeah, I get it.
So we fast forward now to the start of Sarah's 11th grade school year, and we hear her English class did a time capsule, and I think these are just beyond cool. I vaguely remember our high school class or someone's high school class around the graduating year that I graduated. We did something like this, and I have no clue what I put inside of this capsule, but it was probably like a Backstreet Boys or a Spice Girls CD at that point, because those two were my jam.
First of all, Backstreet Boys and Spice Girls are still relevant today.
Backstreet Boys is, they're doing a residency in Vegas.
I would love to see that. That looks like so much fun.
Uh-huh.
And I like the idea of a time capsule. My problem, though, is I would forget about it. I would forget to dig it up.
We should do a time capsule in your backyard, Tina.
Oh, it's definitely going to be forgotten about. I think I would throw in a receipt from my McDonald's lunch because I'm pretty sure a 6-piece nugget meal was $3.24 in high school. I know this because I would get $20 for the week and I had to manage my $20. But when I went through the drive-thru recently a couple of weeks ago and ordered a small French fry from McDonald's, guess how much it was?
Just a small fry.
One small fry.
I don't know, $2?
$3.24.
Inflation.
What a difference.
Whoa.
Okay, back to Sarah's time capsule. Sarah pulls out some of the notes from the time capsule. One note reads, I want to be able to tell everyone my secret, and I want to be able to be free and do what I please with who I please.
Ugh, that's just disturbing.
Another note reads, I wish that some things in my life were out in the open. I hate being behind closed doors.
On the screen now, we see lots of pictures of Sarah and Mr. Greeley. And one of the pictures, it looks like Sarah is sitting on his lap and she's got her arm around him. And another, he's got his arm around her and he doesn't have a shirt on. And Sarah says around this time is when he started trying to convince her to move to Brisbane with him. He even went so far as to tell her he'd get her into a dance company there.
So Sarah packed up her bags and told her mom she was moving to Brisbane as a high schooler.
If my high school child told me this, I'd be like, no, you're not.
Ma'am, I tried to move away for college and my dad said, no, ma'am, no, you're not. College. He eventually, realized I could handle myself, but, he wasn't quite sure. I get it. Looking back, I get it. Oh, this story.
Yeah.
You need some laughs a little bit.
I hope we're making this a little lighter for everybody out there because it's a lot to process.
Yeah. So Sarah moves to Brisbane.
With her teacher.
Oh, man. They are moving in together. And guess what? Greeley didn't do anything to get her in the dance school. She packs up her bags with hopes of going into this dance school, and instead, she enrolls in a regular high school in Brisbane.
The couple's romantic interlude was quickly interrupted when a teacher at Hervey Bay thought something was going on with Sarah and Mr. Greeley, and she ended up opening up Sarah's time capsule. And it's at this point right here, when Sarah reached out to her mom saying to expect a call from the Department of Education.
Okay, so I think this is very smart. Mm-hmm. Very smart thing to do. So the teacher gets this information. Sarah's not there to confront, so she can't ask Sarah. So she remembers Sarah's time capsule. Smart. And goes to look in there. And Sarah's time capsule absolutely held information with red flags. High schoolers just don't write things like this. Mm-hmm. There's something going on if they do.
Yeah. Way to go, that teacher. Mm-hmm. Seriously.
Sarah and Greeley told Sarah's mom to tell the Department of Education that Greeley was just a family friend. And she did it. There was just another chance to save Sarah, and it didn't work. And we see Sarah marvel at the fact. She's talking to the cameras, and you can just see how she is just marveling at the fact that the two of them were protecting him. Sarah and her mom. But seeing how this relationship has affected Sarah's life, Sarah's mom now says she finds it hard to forgive herself for not stepping in.
Took you long enough.
But it did not just take you long enough. You're watching the effects of it. You're seeing how this has affected your daughter's life, and it's now finally clicking.
This takes us to 2005, and Sarah at this point is 20. We hear in the 3 years after finishing high school, Sarah and Mr. Grealy's relationship was on and off. But in 2005, she found out she was pregnant with Mr. Grealy's first baby.
I had to stop the show for a bit at this point because I was in complete shock. I really, really thought that this whole time, Sarah was going to somehow get away from Grealy. She told her mom, she told her teacher, or not, she didn't
She's
tell her
an
teacher,
adult
but
now?
she's an adult now. Her teacher found out. They had called the Department of Education. There were all of these things happening. I really, really thought someone was going to save her.
Yeah.
She moves in with him when she was in high school. She gets pregnant with his baby at 20. This man has completely robbed her of her innocence and the rest of her childhood. She's never going to get that back. It's gone. And remember that video clip we saw at the beginning of this episode? The one where you said, this guy looks like a total creeper?
Yep.
Apparently, that's the video he sent her the night before they got married.
This takes us to 2006 when Sarah and Mr. Grealy tied the knot. In a video clip of Sarah getting ready before the ceremony, someone asks her, "How are you feeling?" And Sarah responds with, "I'm nothing. I'm excited, I guess. I'm neutral." Sarah tells us that she started crying on the way to the venue and kept repeating, "I don't want to do this."
Another cry for help.
Anyone help her.
Anyone listening, she's literally crying out for help. Someone save her. And no one does anything. Sarah's best friend was the maid of honor at this wedding. And she says she was told, she didn't say by who, but she was told not to talk about how Sarah and Grealy met because none of the wedding guests knew the real story.
That he picked her up in high school.
Right.
While he was in her gym teacher telling her she had a nice backside.
They were all told different stories.
Terrible.
There wasn't even one story that they stuck with. Everybody was told different stories, so they weren't allowed to talk about how they met. Starting off your marriage on a lie that big sounds like a nightmare.
Exhausting.
Exhausting. Sure. And it doesn't sound like it was a great marriage. Sarah said she felt small and powerless in her marriage. She wasn't comfortable in her own skin because Grealy would make comments about her weight. And Sarah says when she finally started standing up for herself, Grealy would say things like he missed the cute little girl who would wait at the front door for him to come home.
Ew.
Gross.
That's nasty.
My husband hates when people overuse the word gross. I'm sorry. It's gross.
It's nasty.
Sarah says anyone looking in from the outside would think they had a normal, happy marriage, but it was rocky, and they would argue often.
Mr. Grealy and Sarah ended up moving in with Sarah's mom, and the trio's living situation sounds far from ideal. Sarah's mom says that they had to walk around on eggshells to avoid upsetting Mr. Grealy because he would be upset very easily.
Which I have to just point out, remember at the beginning of the episode when he would go to their house and he was this funny, happy, jolly guy?
Yep.
What happened to that guy?
And the relationship between the two, meaning between Mr. Grealy and Sarah, was also sounding toxic. Mr. Grealy turned the tables on Sarah, and she says that he convinced her that she was the problem. She even sought out anger management and psychologists who all told her that she was not the problem and that they believed she was in a toxic relationship. Now, this takes us to 2014. They've been married for a long time now, almost a decade. Mm-hmm. And Sarah finally, at this point in 2014, decides to leave Mr. Grealy.
Sarah says she went back to school, got her master's in teaching, so she could teach dance. She says she also considered reporting Grealy to the police for what he had done to her when she was young, but he was still teaching, and she felt guilty for being complicit in their relationship.
Sarah says at this point, she and Mr. Grealy had 2 kids together, and she was worried about how those kids would view their father if she turned him in.
This is so messy. I understand what she's saying, but I also wouldn't want my children around someone like him.
And he's still teaching out of school.
And he's still teaching.
Ultimately, Sarah decided to show everyone how much of a badass she really is and decided to speak up. She wanted to set an example for her kids. She wanted them to know the difference between right and wrong. And in 2018, Sarah walked into the Ferny Grove police station in Brisbane and reported Mr. Greeley to the police.
Sarah says she was terrified talking about what happened to her 17 years before. It was the first time she told someone the whole story. Detective Sergeant Constable Julia Ward says hearing Sarah's story and seeing the evidence that she provided, she knew Sarah was telling the truth from the start. Detective Ward also says that the amount of information Sarah was able to provide and being able to verify it with witnesses was also incredibly helpful.
Paul Grealy was arrested in 2020 on several counts of indecent treatment and maintaining a relationship with a child. We hear after being arrested, Mr. Greeley stated that he believed he was the victim in this whole case, and Sarah was reporting this to police to be malicious. When I heard this, it made me shake my head. What a piece of dog do, in my opinion. Get out of here, Mr. Greeley. You groomed this child. You groomed someone to fall in love with you when she was just 15 years old. You weaseled your way into her home using her mother, and then ended up taking her away from her home, away from the safety of her school, of her family, her community, and then you married her. She was your student, and your job was to protect her. In my opinion, he's a sorry piece of an excuse for a human being, if you ask me.
But Sarah's children felt differently at this time. They begged their mom to drop the charges at first so their dad wouldn't go to jail. And we see a conversation later between Sarah and her daughter here, and she says to her mom that their dad scared them by saying he was going to jail for several years. But Sarah's daughter says when she turned 15, she realized how young her mom was at the time and how wrong it was of her dad to do that to her mom.
Mr. Greeley's trial started in April 2024, and we hear Mr. Greeley's argument was that Sarah was 16 when their relationship started. Sarah, however, remembered and says it started when she was 15.
Regardless, 15, 16, both completely wrong.
Agreed.
Sarah's mom says she felt this was the time she needed to stand up for her daughter, and she finally did. And we learned the key witnesses in the case were also able to remember what was going on between Sarah and Greeley. Sarah wasn't in the room when the verdict was read. She said she was worried about what it would be.
Paul Grealy was convicted of maintaining an unlawful sexual relationship with a child. He was also found guilty of 5 counts of indecent treatment of a child under the age of 16.
Sarah and her friends were overjoyed with the verdict. Sarah says she burst into what she called loud, uncontrollable sobs.
Paul Grealy was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison with 15 months to be served. And as of August 2025, Sarah spoke out about her story. And she said that there was so many warning signs that were visible, consistent, and escalating. She says she wants to use the terrible things that have happened to her to create awareness and protect students from going through similar situations.
We see Sarah speaking at the podium in front of the room of educators that we saw at the beginning of the episode, and next to her is a TV screen that reads, "Grooming thrives in silence." She then says, "Children disclose to adults they feel safe with. Be the adult who listens without judgment."
Tina, that line hit very hard for me. As our listeners know, you and I worked in TV for a long time. Besides TV news, though, I also worked at a high school. And this line, when Sarah said it, hit me hard because I was working at a high school in California for a while, and I had 2 students who trusted me. They told me that a teacher at their school was romantically involved with 2 of their friends at that high school. I, at first, didn't know what to do with this information. And let me be clear, these students were very trustworthy students. I'll never forget this. They told me this information during 5th period that day. And I had classes all the way through 7th period. And when that 7th period bell rang and the students left for the day, I marched to the principal's office and reported what those students had told me. Adults have a responsibility to listen to kids. Educators have a duty to report it. If you have an inkling that something is wrong, then there's probably something wrong. Follow your gut. There's a reason why the little hairs on the back of your neck stand up. If you don't like the way someone's looking at your child, say something and do something. I went off on a tangent there, but I want to say that we hear that Sarah is thriving. She started her own education platform called Step In for Kids, and she's doing amazing things.
Mm-hmm. And the tagline for Step In for Kids is all it takes is one step to make a difference. That's what you did. One step.
One step.
And I love that. I really admire Sarah. She's been through so much, and through it all, her focus remains on not just helping herself and her family, but helping others.
Yeah.
For most people, including me, just trying to help myself is overwhelming on some days. And she, I think, is a remarkable person. We go back to Sarah speaking to the room, and she says if one person, one teacher, one adult had asked her if she was okay or if someone was making her feel uncomfortable, she might have told them what was happening, and it could have drastically changed her whole life. Mm-hmm. Sarah tells the cameras that she's turned her life around and she's focusing on building something that she thinks is important for society and something her children can be proud of. And I couldn't agree more.
We see a graphic on the screen at the end of the show that says Paul Grealy was approached for the comment but declined.
Of course.
Of course he did. He was released from prison in August 2025 and has filed an application seeking an extension of time to appeal his conviction.
I hope he never gets to teach again. They didn't say that, did they?
They did not say that.
We also see a graphic that reads, the Queensland Department of Education says, student protection concerns are taken incredibly seriously and responded to quickly, sensitively, and in line with legal processes. And that's the end of the story.
I wanted to cover this story because, like I said at the beginning, this happens more often than people want to talk about. Mm-hmm. It's a problem that I think is a global issue. You know, you trust the people who are at your kid's school because you think that everybody has great intentions, but you truly never know.
And I think that the Department of Education, we did take a step here. They called Sarah's mom. They tried to get information. When someone is giving you lies, how do you know?
Yeah.
What do you do? If you can watch this, if you're able to get through it, because it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's the show is called Only 15, Groomed at 15, Married at 21, How Sarah Exposed Her Predatory Teacher. We watched it on YouTube. It's from the Australian broadcasting channel News in Depth. If you don't want to watch it, we appreciate you listening to our episode today.
Yeah.
Share it with a friend. Let's get the word out.
Yeah, Sarah's doing some pretty incredible things. I would say watch it, if only just to support her and learn more about what she's doing.
I'll put a link to Step In for Kids in our show notes and check it out. It's amazing what she's done and is doing. And with that, everyone, we want to give a big shout out to all of you guys in Australia. We see you.
Thank you, Aussies.
Aussies, yes, I love it. I love it, and I love your accents.
We love your shows.
Yes, definitely. And we want to thank our listeners around the globe who are with us every single week. You guys are awesome, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, and hey, if you see something that you've watched that you think we should talk about, let us know.
Yeah.
Send us an email, twocrimenewsies@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram at Two Crime Newsies.
All right, my friend, you ready to close it out?
Yes.
All right. We will see you guys next week. Bye.